guys, it's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Bitcoin finally having some interesting movement on the charts right here. We actually have a look. We were dangling on, literally hanging on a cliff by support at around the $29,500 level. And then Bitcoin went on a over 10% pump all the way up to about $32,820. And currently we are consolidating in a bit of a pennant formation right now. Now, this news from yesterday, as you may know, had to do with this meeting over here, the B Word Live with Cathie Wood, Jack Dorsey, and Elon Musk. Everybody was waiting in anticipation to see what Elon Musk had to say. Now, during this interview, we actually did have this massive rally with this wick up here representing somewhere around the 3/4 mark of the interview, whereas Elon Musk actually did in fact have some positive things to say about Bitcoin. If you want to watch the video, by the way, I will drop it below in the description, but if you are interested, essentially, this is all you really need to take away from it. He was not bearish on Bitcoin. In fact, he said, I do own Bitcoin, and Tesla owns Bitcoin, SpaceX owns Bitcoin, and I do personally own a bit of Ethereum and Dogecoin, of course. I want to do a little more due diligence to confirm that the percentage of renewable energy usage is more likely at or above 50%, and that there is a trend towards increasing that number. If so, Tesla will resume accepting Bitcoin. And we did, in fact, see the markets reacting to this interview. However, the biggest question is, although this was an exciting move, was this enough to actually save Bitcoin from the giant descending triangle? Are we really ready to finally reverse the trend? Or is this just a little bit of a mini bull trap and we should be worried? Well, I figured today was a good day to update you guys and make a video because I think that now is a very critical time for Bitcoin. We are going to find out whether or not we are looking for that reversal, if the bulls have the strength, or if we are going to be going much lower. I'll show you what I'm looking at in the immediate short term, as well as a little bit of midterm analysis and where Bitcoin could be heading. And if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it. And today's video is going to be nice and short and sweet. Make sure you stick around to the very, very end and let's dive in. Now, you can see right here, Bitcoin actually came down to this blue zone and we did hit our red line support. Now, we got this support because if we actually zoom out here, you could see that we had a wick down to this level right here during the massive crash right here on May 19th. And if we go back even farther, the reason that that actually also had some significance is because that is where we dipped after we had the $42,000 correction back down to these levels back in January early this year, right? So this is a very important level for Bitcoin, for traders, for the structure of the Bitcoin chart. And you can see we did have what could arguably be a beautiful V-shaped recovery, right? But maybe we shouldn't be getting ahead of ourselves just yet, because as you can see, even though we did have what actually looks more like a Bart Simpson, right? Flat on the bottom and then it just goes straight back up. We still were unable to break above this level. And don't forget, this exact level that we're at right now, the level that we actually peaked at 32,652 was exactly where we had this blood diamond, where I had told you guys that if we fell below this level, it would be a good opportunity to potentially put in a short. And we did, in fact, have that dump. But there are lots of speculators saying that they think that this was the bottom. Do you think this was the bottom? I'm actually curious. Please drop this below in the comments, but I'm going to let you know what I'm looking at and what really needs to happen in order for us to get truly bullish on the charts again, right? Because guys, if we zoom out here, if we just go to the daily and we just have a bit of a look at what's happening right here, we are clearly still in a downtrend. We are just putting in, lower highs and lower lows, right? So you can see right here, we did have what appeared to be a bit of a falling wedge. Now, some might actually say that this little dip down here was actually a bear trap just to catch the bears with their pants down, and now we are ready to blast off to the moon. Well, although I do agree in a sense that this was very bullish that we fell out of the wedge but then immediately broke above it, I do want to once again just point out that a lot of it had to do with the excitement of this interview and the fact that it went quite positively. Now, keep in mind, I'm all for the fundamentals. I'm all for the news. However, I don't trade the news because, there's an old saying, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. People are going to look for any excuse, right? Bitcoin pumped today, it's because of this. Bitcoin dumped, it's because of the GBTC unlock. Really, ultimately, the chart is where you need to be focusing because this is going to tell us exactly what we should be expecting. And you could see if we actually zoom out, getting out of this mini wedge right here, we've actually had almost a giant falling wedge for Bitcoin, essentially, since the beginning of the move. Now, keep in mind that falling wedges are textbook bullish, right? So this should indicate that at some point, Bitcoin will have a massive breakout to the upside. In fact, we've talked about the fact that Bitcoin could go as high as $47,000, if we were to pump essentially right here, where this resistance meets, the double resistance that we had right here, if we take this top and we draw a line down here, and the thing is even if Bitcoin was to get up to those levels, if we were unable to then break higher and start putting in some higher highs, then essentially we would still just be in a giant descending triangle, right? So the bulls have a long way to go. We have 2 death crosses. We also have the 200 daily moving average sitting at around $44,500. So ultimately, traditionally, you need to get above that moving average. But I hear you. Okay, great. We're talking about what could potentially happen in a week, in a month. But K-Dub, I want to know what's going to happen tomorrow. I want to trade this. I'm impatient. Well, let's have a look, guys, because as you can see right here, the point that we actually got held down right here. Actually, if I go back to where I just was, starting from this move, you could see the VPVR has been moving behind me as I've been showing you this chart. And that's because whatever I have on screen, it's going to show me the most traded areas, the highest volume based on price, right? Based on price during any given period. And you could see by this red line, I didn't draw this, this is part of the indicator. You could see that line is sitting at around 33,684, which shows that this was an immense area of interest for Bitcoin. And currently, we are sitting below it. In fact, you can argue that we almost kind of got rejected off of it, right? So ultimately, in the short term, it's hard to really flip bullish. Now, look, we could have a massive breakout. And if we did have a breakout from this point, come down, retest this VPVR, or even retest the top of this falling wedge and then continue upwards, or put in something essentially like what we saw already where, we had this this bear trap, right? Where we fell below it and then broke out above it, something of that nature, here's a better picture where we fell below it and then broke out of it. Well, then that could definitely change things. But, having a look at what we're seeing right now, essentially it's just looking like a falling wedge. Now, remember that traditionally, falling wedges are in fact bullish, but you have to take it as a chance of probability, right? Because when you're in a downtrend, if you have something that's usually bullish, it's actually more of neutral simply because there's so much momentum to go against, right? It's like those fish that swim against the current, right? It takes a lot more energy. It takes a lot more momentum, essentially, to get you back to where you were. And currently, the trend has been down. So there is a lot of selling pressure. There is a lot of just bearish pressure on these markets right now, which is why, even just having a look at this simple pattern, it would make more sense for Bitcoin to come down here and potentially revisit around that $28,000 level before having a rebound. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to happen, but, as we have seen, the charts have been following this pattern for quite some time. So, let me actually zoom out real quick and just talk about the weekly, because what we had seen for multiple weeks was, we'd have these wicks, we'd fall below the 50 EMA, the 50 daily, and then we'd get back above it again by the end of the week. And we did this for, over 2 months actually. And then just last week, we did close below it, but we closed exactly on the 50 daily, right? Now you can arguably say that maybe the EMA ribbon is, or not the EMA ribbon, but the EMA, the 50 EMA in general is not necessarily the greatest moving average to use for a weekly, because a weekly is a larger time frame. EMAs are better for short-term movements. But regardless, you could see that currently we are sitting below the 50-day. So it is extremely critical in order to have those bulls step back in that Bitcoin, in my personal opinion, if we have a close above 32,300, that's okay. If we have a close above $33,740, that is even better. But the chart that I have been most interested in has been the CME futures. Personally, I think it's been a much cleaner chart. It's been a much easier chart to understand. And the biggest red flag currently right now is the fact that we are being held under this previous support. Now you can see it started right back here with this wick, right? And if we follow this out, look at this. We had a touch right here. We had a little bit of a bear trap down here. It was perfectly respected here. It was perfectly respected here. It was relatively perfectly respected here. If we go a little farther, it acted as a bit of our resistance. We barely peaked above it, and it's acting as our resistance again. This is a lot of resistance for the bulls to break through. So the first thing, the immediate thing short term, before we start talking about $45,000, $100,000 Bitcoin, what we need to do is break out of this descending triangle, the triangle that has held us down for so long. You can see right here, especially a lot cleaner towards the end on the CME futures. Actually, on the spot chart, it's like exact touches. This one is a little bit more sloppy because obviously they don't trade on the weekends. There's always 2 days missing, but you can see that really what you want to do is break this downtrend right here. Okay, get out of it, close above it, or even come down and retest it. And if we do that, then I would become at least short-term bullish, mid-term bullish, and I would think that we would maybe attempt to retest up here around this $38,000 level. If Bitcoin cannot even break above this first resistance right here, that's not good. And if we get rejected here again, then I personally do think we'll be going a lot lower. So that's essentially what I am looking at, guys. And the other thing is that the DXY has continued to, go higher and higher, although you could argue that this is looking a bit like a rising wedge, which we know could be a fake out and end up bringing the dollar all the way back down to the bottom. But as of right now, we are essentially looking at a strengthening dollar and a potentially weakening Bitcoin. Not that Bitcoin is, weakening in the sense of what it does. It's just been falling a lot in price. And although the recent price move has been quite exciting to see this 10% move in a day, you do have to ultimately zoom out and keep in mind what everybody's getting excited over. I mean, this is not really something to be excited over. Sure, short-term victories, winning the battle is great, but ultimately we need to break above this massive, massive downwards trend, and then beyond that, we need to break out of this channel. So there are a lot of resistances ahead. So if you are looking to long Bitcoin, the first thing I'd be looking for is a breakout of this descending triangle, which currently, if it was to break out today, is around $33,000 even. And then, we have a lot of resistance right here, specifically around the $35,600 level. If we do have that breakdown, specifically falling below 30,700, then I would honestly be looking to short it again. And I would have a target of about, wow, I actually hate even saying this, but about $26,900, $27,000 before then we could start reevaluating what should be happening for Bitcoin. So that is essentially what's happening, guys. I wanted to give you a super quick update of what I'm looking at. We're still in muddy waters. We're still not out of the woods just yet. I'm not fully confident in this bullish move. It could have just been a short-term bear trap. For now, we do need to see us break those higher resistances. Once we put in, more of a macro higher high. Sure, we've put in some higher highs on these smaller time frames, but these time frames really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. You want to see these moves on the weekly, specifically on the monthly would be phenomenal, right? That's what you're looking for. So that is my analysis for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned something from today's video. If you are interested in learning how to trade on futures, I personally would recommend Bybit or Femex if you're looking for a non-KYC platform. You can also trade gold over there, and there's a $1,200 bonus, which is ending pretty soon, I'm pretty sure, so you guys are going to want to check that out below in the description, but make sure that you watch these videos right here, right now, and until next time, stay safe and also stay crypto, and of course, peace out.